Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 32 of Every Day is a Story All Its Own. I am your host, storyteller, and creative Joey Medea. Thank you for all the well wishes. And we did a replay last week. I believe we did on the Into the Outer Realms page. No. It was my most popular YouTube video. I reposted top 10 books for actors, and the blog has been real popular and well. It always gives a big discussion about, are these books still relevant and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate it. Our son got married, our middle child, Saturday. It went absolutely terrific. It was great. And welcome back to the show, Nicholas Pendleton. Nick and I had a pretty structured conversation about his work, his inspirations, all of those kinds of things, showed all his books. We are going to do that again tonight, but we're going to move through that kind of quickly because this is another creative conversation. And in the last 10, 15 minutes of the show, we were sort of freewheeling and sort of dealer's choice. And I have to tell you, I've had so many guests that I've enjoyed my time with them, but this was in probably the top one of my favorite conversations that I've ever had with an artist. So I said to Nick, I think right after the show, you got to come back and so we're going to do that. But those of you who haven't seen it before or want a refresher, Nick has some news. He's working on some new projects. One of his books, he has a new cover. He doesn't do bio. The show is his bio. It's his unraveling. And like I said, we have the slideshow. We've done some cool things together. So I'm just going to run the 11-second opening. I'm going to bring him on and we're going to dive right in. We'll tackle the review, find out what's going on, and then I have a list of cool things for us to talk about. So welcome, as always. Thank you. And just as simple as that. And Knight Berman Jr., composer, his trip here continues to be very, very popular. And I know he's very touched that his fan base has really come out. So without further ado, welcome back. First, Every Day is a Story All Its Own guest with a return appearance, Nick Pendleton.
Hey,
good evening,
Joey.
sir.
Hey, Joey. How's it going?
Good. So thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me on again. And congratulations to the family. I saw the photos, and that's a big milestone.
You know what? It has gotten me right in the heart. Carell's family is absolutely amazing. We hadn't some plans fell through. They live a distance away, other states, all that, where we were going to meet before the wedding, but we wound up meeting at the wedding. It was just wonderful. And the idea of, in a couple years when they have children together, that will be the village. And it was really cool. Some of Jeremy's friends I've mentored and worked with since they were teenagers. So now they're grown men and married themselves, and they were in the wedding party, and he had a longtime mentor. It was a wonderful day. It was very intimate, which I'm all about intimate.
Sure.
That's just my nature. That's just my default. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So let's pull up the slideshow that I put together, and we'll just kind of go through it. Plus, I have some visuals here, some things that I have. This is from my Minor Confessions of an Often Failing Antichrist, which is the first of what is now a 10-book series, the Stanton Chronicles. So you did this artwork, Planner Forthright. You did an audio piece where you took an excerpt from the book and you said,
That's
hey,
right.
I put this together. I think that's out there somewhere out in the world. More cool illustration. You designed the New Mystics logo, which is our New Mystics Enterprises. Kind of interesting, Nick, that we're together today, tonight, because tomorrow morning the New Mystics Art and Literary website will cease to exist. The time came. So we hosted the work of 140 people, but with these tech companies buying everything up, they're just raising the prices, and you got to make choices.
Right.
So the time had come, but New Mystics lives on, and of course this is our logo for New Mystics Enterprises. So it's on all the book spines, and Nick designed that first, which I absolutely love. And then of course Monumental. And last time, guys, this is to Moai. and Nick talk about this last time, but I found the original that you sent me.
No, nice. I was wondering if I had sent that to you.
You did,
Yeah.
and I absolutely treasure it. So as you folks can see, that was the template for everything to come. Nick, why don't you give them a refresher, just specifically about this, like how it came to be and what was the idea of having these two guys stand there?
Yeah, I think originally it was on a website, my website that I had in the early 2000s, like around 2000, 2001, 2002. And I just wanted something that I wanted to have some output every week. But cartooning is pretty laborious. I was a young father at the time, had a family, 2 kids, didn't have all the free time that I wanted to work. So I kind of wanted to do an exercise in like, well, what if it was a static picture that I could just repeat? I think I had seen some other cartoons that had done certain things like that too, where it's it's a static image and changes over time and things like that. And that was kind of where I went with this. It's like if I just draw the one picture, there were some supplemental drawings I had to do along the way here and there. But for the most part, it was just this basic image and then just, photoshopping and sitting in a notebook every week and writing a new strip. It was 6 panels, and kind of wanted to do it in like a Sunday, what they call a Sunday strip format, full color, 6 panels, and and have something posted on my website every week. And that's how it started.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the original wallpapers. We were all doing wallpapers back then.
Right.
That was one.
Yeah,
that was one of the wallpapers you could download for your computer.
Just to show the audience the difference in how you take that static image and can do really cool things with it. And we had a little bit of money at the time and said, hey, can we host this on New Mystic? So that's been, wow, that's probably been 15 years that it was on New Mystic. So
that's about right. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I think, every bit of 15 years. So, we talked a lot about More Argonauts, which is a reimagining of the Greek myths. And then what was it, about a month or 6 weeks ago you debuted the new cover?
Yeah, I think it was in July. I went back and I was, you always find things after you publish, little things you want to tweak, things that bother you, mistakes that you missed, things, different issues like that. And I was unhappy with the way that I had done like the maps. And my daughter had really convinced me that I should do a more dynamic cover for it. She wanted to see something a little bit more dynamic and colorful. And so I played around with some stuff. And then once I came up with a cover design I liked, I went through and kind of did a re-edit of the book, revised a couple of things, and just decided, since it's my publication, I published it myself, I just decided to go ahead and do a revised second edition of it. And so that's the new second edition's available. Like if you had the first edition, it's not significantly different if I didn't change the story or anything like that. I think I fixed things that I wanted to see changed and corrected, and things that just didn't set well with me. It's like you always kind of look back and you want to tinker with it a little bit. I had this opportunity to go ahead and do it. And then I wanted to do a redesign with the cover. And I also wanted to try to design a hardcover edition too, with a dust jacket, So I just kind of set those as, different challenges and goals for myself, as, for book design and publishing and things like that. So actually I actually have my copy of the hardcover. So
nice.
it's really nice. Like if you can ever get one of your books in hardcover, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. You really feel like a real writer and everything when you get one. So
I was working with a client probably about 3 years ago, and Amazon was just starting to offer it, and it was very expensive, and I didn't quite see the sense of it. But it seems like it's really caught on, and more people are doing hardcover. I'm not a huge fan of hardcover books. I like
Mm,
to fall asleep when I'm reading, and it's a good way to like poke yourself in the eye. And I have a
sure.
little bit of arthritis. It's much harder to manipulate and hold up, especially a thick hardcover. Um, I also, the first thing I do is take the dust jackets off and put them in a drawer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a collector too, so I tend
Mhm.
to get like a banged up, really cheap reading copy, and
Yeah.
then if there's a nice edition hardcover, I'll save my pennies, and then I'll go, and pull the trigger on something like that. So I always like
Yeah.
because I have a modest library in my house, and I like to collect nicer editions of books that I like. So it's just something that's available if you want it. You're right; they are expensive. It's just an indulgence.
Yeah.
But I'm not storing. I don't have a warehouse full of them or
Right.
anything like that. So they're kind of made to order, and they're a little bit more expensive, but if it's like a gift or something, if you like to have something nicer in your library, but
Right
the
on.
trade paperback is still available too. So
Yeah. That's awesome. It kind of reminds me of like LPs, right? Also
right.
expensive to produce, expensive to buy, but that was just a cool retro thing. It just keeps it alive. I mean, I have quite a substantial library. It's always a pain in the butt when we have to move because it's like, oh, Joey's
Oh,
booked, and
it's a
I've learned to
nightmare.
split them up over boxes with like clothes and other light things. So because people just give you dirty looks after the 30th box of books, they're just like, never call me again. But I love my books. They're I don't know, they're just me. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been culling different parts of my library and getting rid of, and I'm selling off some parts of my library that I don't really particularly need to keep right now, and
Mhm.
that is a chore. Like just having, it's like it's so heavy. Like books are the worst thing to move. You're right, and I have to transport these to places and try to sell them. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just want to leave them on the side of the road and say anybody can have at them if they want to.
Yeah. I've been purging my like I had a huge research library, and now with the internet and all of that, you don't need 30 books about the Civil War because it's all out there. So like yeah, my Matthew Brady or my Mort Kunstler book, picture
Hmm.
books, paintings and all those kinds of the Civil War day by day, that's a beautiful, that's an awesome reference guide. Um but yeah, and then so I never know when the spirit's going to move me. So the other day I said, I'm going down to my book section in the basement and I'm going to get rid of some books. And it's gotten to the point now where I couldn't find a single book to pull. So I kind of also know where the pruning,
Yeah.
has been done on a certain level. I don't know if I have, oh, there's
Oh
the
yeah.
children's book, so which I've never done. So you're one up on me there. I've never done a children's book.
Yeah.
But
It's fun and it's a challenge of its own. Writing for children is I people who do it professionally, all the time as their main medium, hats off to them. It's a complex, um, genre to get into,
yeah.
and and it's different for each age group as well. So this one was intended for like 3 to 5 year olds. It's
Wow.
not particularly educational, it's just a fun book. I originally wrote it, like the main character is literally my daughter at 5 years old. So, I wrote it for her when she was 5. She's 25 now. So, and it was just, it really just started as an exercise of me. Well, I want to do a project. Like I haven't done anything in a long time. And I'm like, I pulled this, out when I was setting up my new library shelves and everything. And I'm like, I could just do another pass on the text, rewrite, do some rewrites on it, and then redraw it and just, have fun with it. And I think that kind of broke the ice. And that's when I, went from that to working on my anthology collection and then deciding to write a novel. Finally, sit down and finish a novel.
Yeah. Very cool. Did you do a lot of research for the children's book? Like, did you go, okay, like here are the authors I really like, or these are the most popular books, and it's X amount of panels and it's X amount of words on the page, or did you just go with your gut on it?
Yeah, I know that at the time Galaxy was super into Dr. Seuss books,
Mm-hmm.
and every holiday I would buy her 2 or 3 new ones that she didn't have. Thankfully, there were a lot of them. So, and they would be in nice big hardcover editions with big colorful books, silly rhymes. It's fun, it's funny. We had a lot of fun with them, and I just kind of wanted to capture that. So I really use that as a template. I'm like, just write some silly text, and the original that I drew in a very loose kind of Dr. Seuss type. I was kind of emulating Dr. Seuss in the style.
Yeah.
This one I went with a little bit more of a cleaner style when I went back to redraw it. I kind of picked this up from some of the cartooning work I had done, a few years back, and so I just kind of I wanted it to look a lot more clean and do a lot of big, bold, flat colors in it. So yeah, so the original was very Dr. Seussian, and like I said, I kind of kept that spirit. And those were just kind of big, fun picture books. Books like that for that age group, they can't overstay their welcome, and they can't be so short that they don't, hook you in
Yeah.
and engage you. So yeah. And there, every page is an in joke or an Easter egg or something that she liked. Some, inside joke we had as a family or between the two of us. And so it was, just all a bunch of winks and nods to that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That is awesome. That's terrific. Very cool. So that's the slideshow, guys. And then I have a few other. Nick also has this outstanding collection of short stories, Dead Objects with No Function. You can check out my review on New Mystics Reviews, the Blogspot site, which, Nick, after we just never know anymore, like what's gonna. It's the old story of that was a good thing, no, it was a bad thing, no, it was a good thing, no, it was bad. The son who gets his leg broken and the army's come for conscription. My New Mystics review site is absolutely exploded. Like the views
awesome.
per day are crazy. Because I think people, they can't get my reviews at Amazon anymore, so they were forced to go out and find them. And authors, I think authors were so convinced, so schooled that an Amazon review is the end all be all. If you want to sell books, you have to have good Amazon reviews. So they were always very appreciative of my reviews. Market study has kind of told that it's the other way around. Like a lot of sales will make your reviews look more impressive and, interesting thing. But I am just amazed since, and I found out a lot of us got purged. It was just like a big old purge.
Really?
Of like good, strong, legitimate reviews. Yeah.
Were they just purging the non-purchase? Like, because I know they got really very strict about only you have to, it has to be confirmed that you purchased through Amazon to leave a review.
And for a long time that wasn't it. You know what I honestly think it is? Because there were book tours. I think what happened with a lot of it was, and this is where we'll kind of go off script a little, although I just want to remind the audience too that you're also a graphic novelist, so that there are these cool Gilgamesh. So go back and watch we're gonna freewheel a little tonight. So go back and watch the first episode, folks. And there's a comment in the chat room, but I'm gonna hold that for now. I think it was a couple things. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, the writers of Twitter started, where like, follow me and I'll follow you. It's shameless promotion Tuesday and all. And Twitter shut all that down. They were like, this is an illegitimate way to get followers. Now I just saw a YouTube video where also no bueno to do that. So you can't go into somebody's comments and say, hey, follow me and I'll follow you back. And YouTube is like shutting down. If they go back to the source of the people who are saying that, and they're shutting down their channels.
Wow.
So social media, the Sil Val bully boys, that always gets me in trouble, man. But whatever, that's what they are. This high tech social media guys, they make the rules about how you, because they want you to buy advertising. That's how they want you to get your followers. So so I think that was part of it. Then on Amazon with the AI, like, oh, what are people saying? And here's an AI summation. Well, that's easy to do when somebody goes, I really like that book and the cover was good and the writing was good and I really like that book. That's real easy to get the language models to. But when I write a 2,000 word in-depth sort of mini master's degree essay, which is what I like to do in my book reviews for authors, which they appreciate, I think that screws with the algorithms. So I think that was a big motivator. Because and then the other piece, I think the third piece was there were these book review tours, right? Which already I think have already sort of like everybody was paying to get book trailers, and you don't see trailers. You don't see book trailers anymore. I mean, you and I and Knight collaborated to do a book trailer for Jester Knight, and it was nice. And I've since put together in Canva and all book trailers. They don't get views. They don't sell books. So these book tours, so these people came up and they're like, okay, so on Saturday we launch your book and we have these 30 book reviewers lined up and they're gonna plaster the internet with their reviews over the course of 3 or 4 days on all social media, and you'll be hashtagged and all, and it costs thousands of dollars for writers to do this. I think,
of course it does.
And it would, and they would say, and I'm almost speaking past tense here because I don't even know if these books, I think they came up and the people made their money and that was it. And I know I did a lot of book reviews, and they would say on Amazon, make sure you say that this was an ARC, right? This was an advanced reader's copy that you got for review. And I never put that on Amazon, man, because intuitively, I was like, that's a good way for Amazon to take these reviews down.
Sure.
Someone is giving you a book for the express, and that does not feel like
that doesn't help sales.
Yeah. And it just, so I think it was a factor. It was probably a factor of a lot of those things. But yeah, now I'm banned from life. I can't do a review on anything. Yeah, like on a spatula or no, I was a danger to the community.
Wow, crazy.
And yet you go on, man, and there's these 1-star reviews. There's this beautiful coffee table book. And this thing is a bestseller right now. And I met the authors and I reviewed their book. It is, I'm telling you, this is a talk about a coffee table book that is high quality. And somebody gave it 1 star and it said, and it's up. This is what bugs me. It says, the binding does not look sturdy on this book. So did you buy the book? Did you not buy the book? It looks not sturdy. Therefore, it isn't certain, but I mean, if I was to show you this book, dude, it's an Abrams tank of coffee table books. I mean, it's beautifully done. I'm sorry, I went on for a while there.
Well, and it's hard to know if a human even wrote some of these reviews that because they've just. I know that Amazon became a wasteland where you couldn't trust anything that was in the review section because it was just getting flooded with AI, reviews to boost. Like you said, a spatula that was shipping directly from, some warehouse or some manufacturer somewhere. And then they would just, spam it with bot reviews and things like that. So, yeah. And that's kind of where I was thinking of, like, almost like Amazon, almost like Goodreads as well. Goodreads is not as much. I mean, you can really get in the weeds and down rabbit holes on Goodreads still with people's reviews, which is pretty nice. And still have discussions on their reviews as well. But Amazon kind of got to the point where it's like, well, we can't even really trust if a person is writing, if somebody's publicity team is writing these reviews, if it's just getting spammed, with bots trying to sell you, move units. So then when you have a, legitimate audience who wants to, that you've asked, please review my book so that it boosts its rating and it gets the visibility so I can sell more copies. You get punished along with this whole sea of opportunists and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's not anymore, more and more. the internet is becoming a not a welcome place for actual human beings trying to communicate, which is about as ironic as you can get, I think, when this is a whole thing was so the world could communicate with each other in real time. And we're all, as human beings, being pushed out a little bit actually a lot at a time. You jump in, and it's worse on different social media platforms, worse than others but it's just a matter of time, I think. I think I made a joke on Blue Sky that eventually we'll all be forced off of the internet, and they'll just have a whole new branch of anthropology that studies all these computers talking to each other on the internet and finding out whether it becomes something malignant and needs to be dealt with, or if it just burns itself out. Yeah. And so we end up schlepping books out of a trunk of a car again down to town, something like that.
That's what I'm doing in 2 weeks. I'm going to a festival. I'm the guest speaker, and guaranteed I'll sell a ton of books.
Well, and I've been looking at, maybe I'll try to go to some conventions and book shows and things instead, because I haven't done that in a long time. And it's like, it's a really different thing when you can actually meet people face to face. And I don't know, it's usually fun to meet, people who are into the things that, that you're into too. You kind of get in your cave and you do your work. I know you get out a lot more than I do, but in this last 5 months, I've really literally been like in a cave writing, and you forget that there are other human beings out there like you who like the same things you do, and they probably wouldn't mind getting to know you, and you wouldn't mind getting to know them. And, you can create, you can actually socialize and meet people like yourself with the same interests. So it's always good for the soul.
It is. I think that it is. I'll drop you a note and let you know how it goes in a couple weekends. Because that's tough for me to be out and amongst the people, but I'm gonna be talking about stuff I love and my work in the escape rooms and all that kind. Before we talk about what you're working on, we did an episode of Sinister Mysteries on what's called the dead internet. And it's like 65% now, I think, of what's on the internet is bot generated.
Right.
And there's a real danger there, because then the large language models are learning from product of the large language model. So it's like, it's kind of like using a Memorex tape over and over again. You're going to get degradation.
Yeah. It's going to become a different animal very quickly.
Yeah, apparently YouTube is cracking down on AI generated.
I haven't seen it
on that. No, I know. I saw this reel this morning, right? I am a huge fan of Bruce Willis, like going back to Moonlighting and the Seagrams commercials, right? His Bruno character and all.
Oh yeah.
That was so seminal to me and some of my close friends in like high school and college. And so his Lewy body dementia, his frontal lobe dementia, has just been a heartbreaker for me. That's my scary thing. If I lose my ability to communicate and think, who am I? I am nobody.
Yeah.
So that's always been a fear of mine. And so there was this reel on Facebook, and I clicked on it, and it was him in a car, and he just looked completely befuddled and was making these faces. And it said, Bruce Willis is now in a 24/7 home care facility, doesn't remember his name, can't communicate, doesn't know he's a... And then down below, it says generated by AI. So did you take a static picture of him in the car and animate it to make him look befuddled? Like, what was the AI aspect of it, and what was I looking at that was in any way legitimate? And that is a damn shitty thing to do to a person.
Yeah, I mean, because they can absolutely do that. They can take one still photo of you and animate it. I saw they were doing it with like old photos from like the 20s.
Yeah.
They were colorizing them and then animating them, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, you just keep thinking maybe there's going to be a peak. And now you've gotten to this thing where, okay, everybody was getting tricked by AI, images, voices, and stuff like that. And it's like, no, here are the warning signs. Here's what to look for. And now I've noticed that everybody just thinks anything that they don't agree with or doesn't like look right to them is just automatically AI. And it's like, well, no, that's not AI. It's something else. You can do special effects, you can do editing, you can do different things without it, necessarily being AI generated.
Right.
So the pendulum swung the other way to where now I think a lot of people just give up and think everything's AI now.
Yeah.
But you can, as a content creator, a lot of, and artists and people who've worked in film and audio and things, you can most of the time tell, because I think a lot of the consumer grade, the thing that upsets me is like, there's a lot of nice video essays and things like that on YouTube on any subject you could possibly imagine. And then you click on one and you watch it, and it's full of either AI imagery, or my real pet peeve is the AI narration.
Yes, me too.
It's like, if you want to do, it's like, get somebody who can narrate it for you, or, just put in a little practice. Because I'd rather hear a real human being, the warmth of a real human being who's not the best narrator, working on their chops.
Yeah.
Rather than to just hear that computer voice that when it hits that one word that it mispronounces, you're like, oh yeah, no, or the cadence is wrong. And it's like, yeah, no, this is just not a person. And I instantly lose interest no matter what the subject is. It's like, and you put so much, did you put all this time in to write the script, or did AI write it for you? Because now I see everybody wants you to have AI write your novel for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, have AI write your first draft, and then you can go back. And it's like, no, like, my novel, my ideas aren't prompts, they're my prompts. They're prompts for my computer, for my intelligence. And it's, so I don't know if that makes me a Luddite, fuddy-duddy, or, just, or if it, or if there's like really, really worth fighting to, for the purity of people doing this work. Because if you don't want to put the work in to communicate with other people in that way, then why do you want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you doing it? Fame and fortune? Because I'm going to tell you, on my end, I'm not seeing fame and fortune. You know what I mean? It's like, you do it for the love of the game. Let's say, like, if you're going to be an athlete, well, you just build a robot and he'll go out on the football field for me and he'll play every Sunday. Well, why are you in sports? Because he wants the Nike and the endorsements and things like that. It's like, it doesn't, it doesn't gel with me. I don't understand what the point is. The tools are interesting. You can play with them. I don't know if you've ever watched Rick Beato.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. He shows you how you can create a musician, create songs, and create an album, and then just put it out there for sale. Like, he shows you how easy it is. And it, and it's so depressing, because people we've done pretty good for the last, 300,000 years making our own art.
Yeah.
Why the computers were supposed to take away the drudgery work so we would have time to make our art, but now they're taking away our art and giving it to a computer, and then we're left with the drudgery work. So it's
until
it's
they
kind of
take that
on its
away.
head. Yeah,
Until they take that away. I mean, I never thought as an academic editor that I would lose my job to an algorithm. You know what I mean? Because the nuances of language and all, like, what I'm seeing is that concessions are being made. Like, because it struck me, right? Those little wavy blue lines, like on Microsoft Word and all, sometimes they're great. They really push me. Or if I lapse into, I make a sentence that's a little too long, or I use not present. Sorry, help me out. Passive. I'll go into passive voice. You know what I mean? And you'll get the little blue lines and you go. But by and large, those things and Grammarly, they're taking all the nuance of language out. So no, don't use a phrase. Use this tired old,
Yeah,
don't say X, say Y.
and if you
Yeah.
don't know enough, if you don't know better,
Yeah.
or if you're not defiant enough to have your own voice, you'll just do it the computer set. Well, the computer knows better than I do. So you'll have a whole generation of people who write the way the computer likes to see it rather than breaking rules and, maybe having their own voice and doing things in their own way. And yeah, no, when I was editing, I was faced with the same thing on Google with with its editor coming in and suggesting changes. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it catches thing, but there's so much it didn't catch too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like, well, if it's catching things and then it's trying to change my style in places, it's like, you may have a point, but I'm going to leave it, and the way that I think it should be. Now, if I had to duke it out with a real life editor, that's a completely different situation,
Right.
But computer, I don't think computer always knows best. And there were so many things the computer missed, which was flummoxing to me because it caught all kinds of stuff. But there's things that it just, that's okay. But it's not. It's like, no, I wrote a character's name wrong through the whole book. I inverted two of the letters, and computer didn't catch that.
No.
I finally caught it like on the 9th or 10th read through. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. And to look it up again, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I did that completely wrong.
Yep.
I guess I got to do a second edition now.
It doesn't catch nuances. Quite embarrassingly, I realized that in my 5 pirate books, the Cannon and the Quill books, I consistently spelled parlay as in a talk between two people, as in a parlay as in like a bet or like like a gambling thing. And so it can't contextualize. If it could contextualize, then it would have said, "Oh, you're using a homonym, and it's the wrong homonym, pal." So yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Like that you did it, you put it out there, and do you ever go back and look at your books every once in a while? Do you reread any of your stuff, and then? Or do you just like, no, it's done? Because, I did struggle over the second edition. The only thing that really made me pull the trigger on it was I wanted a new cover. I just wanted to have a different cover. And that was like, okay, that's a major overhaul of the look of the book. I might be able to sell more copies with a more interesting looking cover. So that's what lit the fire for me to go back and do the kind of the re-edit and the corrections and things like that. Otherwise, it's like it's out there. But I was always curious to know what other authors felt about that, especially in this day and age when a lot of us are DIYing our own stuff, and we are ultimately, we're the writer, we're co-editor. We're often, designer and publisher, or at least we play a big role in all those different parts where you wouldn't with a traditional publishing, thing. But I just was curious to know how much you are tempted to go back and make corrections and things like that.
So here's my, if I catch a typo, I fix it and I upload a new manuscript. Also, too, like the Cannon and the Quill books, that's it's about 350,000 words of story now. So I go back to the books constantly. I try to keep notebooks and index cards of what happens, and each character has a thing so I can, but inevitably I want to go back to the book. What I'll not do is rewrite because I'm so hard on but I will fix corrections. The very first Cannon in the Quill book is the smallest of them. It's only 55,000 words, where the later books are like 78 or 82,000. I would like to flesh that one out a little. I didn't get some of the syntax of the pirate language and things like that, but yet I haven't gone back and done that. What's ironic is because I do about 60% my own books and 40% I work with publishers. and I quite frankly make a lot more money doing my own books than I do with the publishers. So when people ask, I say, "Ooh, it's really tough," but there's nothing like having publishers as well, so you don't just
Oh
feel
yeah.
like you're doing all your own stuff. Those are the books where I wish they could be living organisms. Like Every Day is a Story All Its Own, my storytelling book. I'm constantly reading books about story and finding quotes from actors, and I would probably go and put this stuff in the book, not
And
tell
those,
anybody, not do a new edition,
oh yeah,
but
just
put it in.
add.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I would
yeah,
say that's the kind of book that you would want to do multiple, I think, editions, as
yeah,
you had more, once you accumulated a certain amount of new information, or as things change, over
yeah,
time,
yeah,
um, that you would want to do, second or third editions of it, update it periodically. Yeah.
yeah.
And I
That's
think now that I have the new cover on the book, that if I continue to find errors or things that need to be updated, I could continue to upload a new manuscript, like you said, and no one would even know.
right.
It just gets updated. Because really it is just files going to the different vending, platforms where you're selling
Yeah,
your, and but in this case, it's like I'm completely changing the look of
yeah,
it. But I also didn't want anyone who was nice enough to, purchase it when it first came out, to feel like they got, well, what am I supposed to go back and buy it again? Like, what's he trying to pull here? And I'm like, no, I did not fundamentally change the text. So anything in there that looked clunky or weird or sentence structure was bad, that's probably what I fixed. And any, spellings and things like that, and just little weird edits you miss after having looked at the manuscript, 70 times, and you're so burnt out. And it's like, there couldn't possibly be anything wrong in this anymore. Wrong. You
yeah,
just look at it a couple weeks later and you're like, oh boy.
yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. Amazon now, as part of the dashboard, people can file basically complaints or error reports on ebooks.
Oh, wow.
So you have a dashboard. I knock on wood, I haven't had anything, but they'll alert you and say, "Oh, you need to go and fix this and re-upload it." And
Hmm.
when I first started doing the ebooks on Amazon, they didn't have the Kindle Create, which is made specifically for the Kindle. So it's really nice that it lays out. You could just upload a Word document, but not everything translated perfectly.
Right. I think when I was using it, you could upload PDFs. I think I
Oh,
was
yeah. Oh, for
uploading
ebooks?
PDF. Yeah. I
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was a long time ago when
Yeah.
I used that platform to was experimenting with publishing some, like a long short story that I'd written as like a chapbook. I had it both available as a little chapbook, and I also had it available as an ebook. So, yeah.
Cool. So if you don't mind asking, what do
Sure.
you use?
I use a platform called lulu.com, which I found
Oh, yeah.
and so you can select worldwide distribution, which includes Amazon. So I don't actually have to interface or deal with Amazon at all. Everything is through my dashboard on Lulu.
Oh, wow.
So the only drawback to that is that when you do revise and update it, there's a waiting period. It could be some time before, because it has to go through Amazon approval, which I don't quite understand. But, they take care of all of that. And I think that the quality of the books is way better if you buy directly from Lulu anyway. I had a lady that was in a book club that I used to be in. She got really, she was being very supportive. She bought a copy of the children's book off of Amazon, and she showed it to me because she wanted me to sign it. And I was looking at it, and the paper they use at Lulu is a really nice, thick, glossy, paper, really, that makes the colors pop really well, and the really dark blacks and everything. They used a non-coated, kind of a thinner paper, for the Amazon hardcover edition, which, much more dull, you could see through. I was, and I noticed that sometimes they'll use more of a newspaper, newsprint weight paper for their books. where Lulu uses a nice, bright, like 60-pound paper for theirs. I selected an actual, like a cream off-white 60-pound paper for the hardcover edition.
Mhm.
So, and it's a nice gloss wraparound, and there's it's a cloth bound dust jack, or a cloth bound cover with embossed lettering on the spine.
Wow.
You have, it has limits, and like you said, it's more expensive per unit. But I always I kind of half jokingly say, well, it's artisanal, like we're making, we're almost hand making our books here. So, and I also make, you also make more royalty money through Lulu if I have somebody purchase it directly from there. Amazon, it's pennies from Amazon.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better to get it, because I consider Lulu my publishing house.
Right.
It's my publishing home, at least. And so I just get a lot more of that money. And when you say a lot more of that money, that means, you get 10 cents rather than 2 cents,
right,
per copy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because they also raise prices. I think a lot of the stuff going on in the world, all the prices increasing, that also includes print books. So my, all of my books, I was, they just told me, say, everything's going up. So you can either adjust your prices so you can keep your same royalties, or you can leave it as is and you'll get a reduction in royalties. And in my case, I think I just decided to kind of leave it as it was. So, because I'm also a reader, and I'm also a purchaser of books and things like that. And, you don't like to see those prices for things continue to go up. I am also a big buyer of secondhand books. I think as a result, also, I don't like things to go to waste, like books.
Right.
So when somebody's done with it and they don't want it, I'll definitely take it. So
yeah, I have come around to buying the used books because I'm working my way through the Louis L'Amour catalog.
Oh yeah, I know. I noticed that you've been reading a lot of those. I've been reading I've been getting back into pulp fiction stuff myself, because one of the inspirations for the things that I've been writing recently has been pulp stories. Nice. So I have been doing a lot of reading of that, because because again, you're trying to kind of capture a style that you don't see a lot. I don't see a lot of people. I guess there are still people, of course, that write in that, but it's not a popular style anymore. So, and those were books that I used to love as a kid, and I've always wanted to read Westerns too. I've never gotten, but yeah, you can go and get a whole bunch of those paperbacks.
Yeah.
Probably whole lots of them, right? Do they sell them in lots? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. I'm working my way through a series called the Sackett series, which is like 17 books. Most of them you can get in the Bantam, and they're all unified and they look really nice on the shelf. And I do like that. But some of them you just can't get. They're not available. And it is nice to get an edition from the 1970s or edition from the 1980s, where they still have the it's up there too high, but like get Flint and 5 other books for 75 cents when you join the Louis L'Amour, and I'll pull those cardboard pieces, and it's very nostalgic. It's very, very nostalgic for me. So I like that. So this is a good setup in our last 15 minutes or so to so what are you working on where that has a big pulp? So are you talking like Howard sort of Conan sort of kind of pulp, or
yeah, so I have been drawing from different sources. Howard stuff has always been like that was the stuff I loved as a kid. I think some of the first pulp books that I pulled off of a Pomida store shelf, I think, were the Ace paperback Conan, and so those kinds of things are just, kind of ingrained. And then a lot of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan. I read a lot of those, and a lot of the Pellucidar books as well. Loved a lot of that kind of pulp fiction, and that became that. And I also started to get into novelizations, especially of 70s films. I was working on this kind of thesis about 70s superheroes were usually guys who were driving Trans-Ams, were truckers, blue collar. We had a lot of blue collar heroes. We had Burt Reynolds, Clint Eastwood, even Kenny Rogers. He was a race car, he's a NASCAR driver. We had a lot. Those were the superhero characters of the films in the 70s. Those were the guys we worshipped. The Dukes of Hazzard on television. And so I had, and I kind of was accumulating all of that kind of, I consider that kind of a pulp, you know, because pulp is, like you said, a blue collar working man's, literature. And so that was one of the big inspirations for one of the main characters in my novel, Philon of Corinth. And he was always a Clint Eastwood style character to me the whole time I was writing it. Like, I just would imagine him playing a young Clint Eastwood, playing that character in the movie version. And so I had always thought that I would want to write more stories about that character, because he has kind of the ability, you have the ability to serialize. Like, he's got, he's a caravan man. He transports, like valuable wares around the world, and he's got to face bandits and, and all kinds of different things. It's a perfect pulp setup where you have repeating, the same character he's got a new, there's a new episode every, like every couple months. And so it was like, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to write a book, a compilation of just stories about him? But then, of course, I always kind of want, whereas those characters don't really change a lot, they're kind of meant to reset at the end.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to try to do a through line, like, have a progression. I know that Robert Howard did that a lot with his Conan character. A lot of his characters are envisioned of him from age 16 to in his 40s, so I thought, so I've been writing stories and plots about him. The end of the book allowed for kind of I don't really want to spoil anything, but there was another pulp genre that I've been reading in that I thought would be fun to do a story in. And so that's what I've been writing. I've been writing these Philon of Corinth stories, which you think would be like like a paperback, like would be in a paperback edition. And during that, I got the idea for something else that was also inspired. I didn't plan to keep writing in the world of this novel. I was going to move on to something completely different.
Right on.
But I kind of just fell in love I just realized how much I loved writing in, like with the characters, the Greek mythology, the places. I kind of want to take a trip. Actually want to go to Greece and Turkey, and take a lot of photos and a lot of notes and really kind of breathe it in and see, what it's really like there, and to see some of these places firsthand. But yeah, no, it's like become kind of a playground, and I'm starting to, again, like I said, against all of my, all my wishes, my initial wishes, I feel like I'm kind of building a little bit of a universe.
Yeah.
And it's fun there. It's the most fun I've had writing something in a long time. The characters really come alive. It's got all the things you like. It's like, it's action, set pieces, twists and turns. There's a little bit of romance, a little bit of sex. There's you got humor, you've got peril. It's like, gosh, what the drama. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun genre to write in. And if you don't take it way too seriously, like I said, you have the balancing act of grounding it into some kind of realism. but then you also have to go, this is totally fictional. And it's a fantasy. I'm writing a fantasy version. I could write a history book about ancient Greece if I wanted to,
Right.
but I'm writing these stories about these fictional characters. So you kind of let yourself go loose. Kind of what I do is that I'll do the research and I'll find a real thing that I think is really cool. And then I'll go, what would be the exaggerated, blown up pulp version of that? And that's what I'll write.
Nice.
And so and then it just becomes a lot of fun. And it's like you're a kid again, playing in the backyard with a wooden stick or a wooden slat that you're using for a sword.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, only you're doing it at a typewriter, or at a computer, at a keyboard, rather than running around in the backyard.
Right.
So that's 6 1/2 dozen the other, man. Like, I haven't grown up at all. I'm doing the same thing I did when I was like 7 or 8.
Amen to that. I mean, I'm still literally doing. I'm going to get on an airplane and dress like a pirate and entertain people for for an hour. They're going to pay me. I'm going out to Nevada of all places to do my pirate characters. Boulder City, Nevada. I'm going in October. Yeah. I would love to have you come back in November so we could talk about D&D and writing the gap and doing the research and all this. If we could do this as an ongoing thing, you and I, every couple of months, we find something, because that's basically what the Stanton Chronicles is. I got to do a fallen angel vampire. I got to do a Sherlock Holmes homage, and in the Sherlock Holmes is nested a Gothic Western, because I always wanted to write a Western.
Nice.
So in the Sherlock Holmes book is the origin story of Quincy Morris from Dracula, who was a Texas Ranger, and his dad fought in the Civil War, and he was part of some of those very, very dark groups. So he goes to live with a native tribe. He goes to live with the Blackfeet in order to heal his soul after everything he's done, and then he gets involved. Because he's that throwaway character. He's sort of like Flashman, right? In the it's not Encyclopedia Brown. I forget what it is, but there's Harry Flashman, who's the bratty kid at the prep school, and George MacDonald Fraser did 12 brilliant books about this character. So those things are cool. I have the 3 Gothic Doctors, which is Frankenstein, Moreau, and I have the manifestations of Moloch and Mammon for greed and during the age of slavery in the pirate books. And then the Mothman was here. The new novel is the 1960s. What happened with Mothman? But I put Tanya and I in it in 2009. I've never done that before. Have you ever fictionalized yourself in your stories?
Yeah, like my novel. I wouldn't say that the author in in my novel is a fictionalized version of myself so much as I used as a jumping off point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I use, like with everything, I use a lot of my own experience as a grounding thing, as a starting place. And then what it's like. The characters take over from there, and then they become their own people. But I would say that in a lot, especially in a lot of my short stories, there's a lot of me in there, but it's very much gets taken over by the character. I would say probably in the novel, though, the author character is probably the closest to me. Although in my mind's eye, when I see him, he looks nothing like me. And we have similar life experiences, I guess, is what is the closest thing that I can with that character. But as for having like an actual analog, I think some people call it like a fiction suit that you can jump into to get into. I don't think I can't remember if I've ever done that. Yeah. I can't recall. Yeah. But so how was that? What was that like writing you guys into it?
It's a lot of fun, and it's very interesting. So Planner Fourth, right across the angel falling upward, is the darkest, most uninhibited, non-filtered parts of me. And that was really good. And then people would read it and go, damn, you're angry and you have daddy issues and like all this. And it was not as fun to write Planner. Yeah. So from that point on, as I got older and outgrew a lot of, I got to purge all that. Planner still throughout but he's different. He's
Hmm.
now a separate character for me. Of course,
Oh,
Angus
yeah.
McGregor is a character that I play really, and in my one-man pirate show, all the historical guys, Samuel Bellamy and so on and so forth, I've played all of them, so that was interesting. But this was Tanya and I had a series of paranormal experiences in 2009 that completely changed our lives in Point Pleasant. So even though they're Charlie and Shelley, they're us. So that was
Oh.
interesting. But they don't have children. You know, you still have to make literary choices,
Right.
right?
I think that's the best part is when you can fictionalize it, you can take
Yeah.
the pieces of yourself that you want to have in there,
Yeah.
and then you can just make up other
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
want.
Where
And
we
then,
got engaged was perfect
well,
for
and then you
a
have
fantasy
people in
tale.
your real life, they go, well, that's not really what happened,
Yeah.
or that never happened to you. It's like, yeah, but it's a story.
Yep.
Like it's a fictional character. Like
Yeah.
some of that stuff, yeah, well, it's just a jumping off point,
Yeah.
your own experiences,
I will tell you this though, because it was really interesting. The dynamics that make Tanya and I fundamentally us, I put them in there. And Charlie, just like I don't always come across the best, or especially when I was younger, like in 2009, I put his warts in there. And I loved doing that. Like I would read certain sections to Tanya and I'd go, this is so quintessentially us. And those who know will go, oh, Charlie is like so Joey. Although oddly enough, and this is another thing to ask you, as we're getting short on time. Do you cast all your? I cast all of my characters with actors that I know, people that I know, and movie characters. So I have these giant folders full
Mhm.
of like the fantasy novels. There's over 100 characters now in the two fantasy novels,
Wow.
and every single one of them is cast with real actors.
With real actors. So
Yeah.
what I do is, so when I write cinematically. Like I see the
Mhm.
scene
Yeah.
in my head like it is a film.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have an actor in mind. Like in this case, like I had the character. Like it would be great if like if a young Clint Eastwood could play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I even use real actors' names from the '60s, old Hercules movies, to describe him physically. Initially, when he's first introduced, Steve Reeves, Dan Vadas. Alan Steele, who's actually an Italian actor, but I can't remember what his real name is, but he went under the screen name Alan Steele. So I like to do some of that, but for the most part, it is a wholly original human being that I see in my head. I don't always cast them, but when I do cast them, I'm always afraid that I'm going to give the game away because I will probably cleave too tightly to that, to that actor or actress.
Okay.
So I always try to just try to keep that visual image in my head of what the character looks like and what the scene is. But sometimes it just naturally gets cast with an actor. An actor I see like, oh, that's a jumping off point for a character.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't cast them. And I think part of that is me just like, well, I don't know if I'm a good casting director. I don't know if I'm the best casting director because you see film versions of books that you like and you're like, oh, I would have never thought of that person playing that character, but they're great. Like it's awesome. And it seems like, oh, well, that's a natural choice, but I never would have imagined that in a million years to think of that person. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm too much of a fan. I'm too much of a fan of books and movies and things like that I have a hard time, staying outside of it enough to always be analyzing it. I'll start out trying to analyze it and learn how it works. But then I get absorbed into it because I'm such a sucker for a story that I get sucked into it. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh, well, I'm just absorbed in the story. So,
Yeah.
I always have a hard time, separating myself away from it. And it's the same thing when I'm, writing or whatever, channeling a book, it's kind of channeling because it's like, I don't, and you're channeling it from your own like subconscious. So it's, but it's like, it's all new and original. It's new to me. I'm watching it. I'm trying to capture it. I think I even talk in the book, like, the author is concerned about the book not expressing, like, the actual book that you're reading isn't as good as what my muse showed me that night.
Yeah.
I don't know why she chose me to write it down, because
Yeah.
I can't express it as well as I saw it.
Yep.
So
it's that's a Tenacious D's tribute. It didn't sound anything like this song. This is just a tribute, which is brilliant. And I guess we do, I find that more with music. I'm a much more technician, a writer at this point than I am a musician. So to try to hear it in my head and translate it to the guitar can sometimes be infuriating. Writing, I do a pretty good job. Yeah, you did do that, and Alan Moore has done it. I know there's a specific term where you actually, Stephen King does it in the later Dark Tower books, or certainly in the last. I'm on Wizard and Glass now, so I'm on the 4th book, and
that's my favorite of the series. I love that book.
Yeah, the backstory, right, of the 3 boys.
What a beautiful. I mean, and yeah. So just wait till you get to the end of it. It's just so. It's the best. Let me see. The last one I read was Wolves of the Kala, and it's up to that point, no contest. That is the best one. And I thought Drawing of the 3 was the best one before that.
Yep.
Which is the 2nd book.
Yes.
But no, Wizard and Glass, I think, to what I've read, up to the point that I've read in the series, is the best of them. I just absolutely loved the backstory, the world building, the characters too. Yeah. Sometimes I get a little, I don't know. I'm not a Stephen King super fan, but when his characters hit and when they really come alive. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, how do you do that? Because I've read some of his books where the characters never gelled for me. They never clicked, and the plots they just seemed kind of like random events. And I'm like, well, I don't have anything to get my hooks in there. Yeah. It's just my opinion, but when he's on and when he writes something that clicks with me, it's like, it's full of, and I was fully invested in that book. That book was so good. It was the best of the series as far as I was concerned.
I'm enjoying it because, and this is my second read. It's the second read of the series. The Gunslinger I read 3 times, read Drawing of the 3 times, read The Wasteland 3 times.
Wow.
And I do not like the train story at all. Blaine the train. And he lifts all the riddle stuff, which is pure like Lord of the Rings, like Gollum, that whole thing. It's torturous. And then he puts us through it in the beginning of Wizard and Glass, but the heartbreaking inevitability of these 2 young people.
Oh yeah.
This is a clash that's going to destroy worlds. And you're torn as a writer. You go, do I root for this young couple, or do I root against them? Because there's carnage, man. There's gonna be carnage, and it's just, and that Alain and Cuthbert are gonna get caught up in
the whole thing is just it's heartbreaking because and I think that's always the key. It's like, first of all, to be able to pull off a romance like that's like master level stuff. But also to have characters that you love that are so flawed. They have these critical flaws. Yeah. And it's the character flaws that cause everything to happen. And you think, if I was in the same situation and I felt the same way that they did, would I probably do the same thing that they did? Would I, sacrifice it all for this, or would I do something differently? It's like, it really kind of digs into your humanity. It's like, this is what it's like to be a person. Like, how do you do that? You create a 100% 3-dimensional human being out of the ether. Yeah. And everybody processes it through their own brain, through, symbols on a page. And it's just like, that's absolute magic. Right on. So, yeah. And I don't think you can put those characters on a screen and make it the same experience. You can make it a different experience. You can definitely do it a different. I think that's why, film adaptation, people get upset about it because film's a different medium. You have to do things differently. But there's a magic about a book still, these days. Yeah. Like it's the most immersive you can get, I think. It's one of the greatest technologies ever developed by mankind, I think.
Absolutely.
With no hyperbole.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love Bruno Bedelhein's uses of enchantment, because fairy tale characters we don't get, he's got a scar under his left eye and one eye's green and one eye's blue and he's 6'4". The whole idea of a fairy tale is you're supposed to imprint on the prince. You're supposed to imprint on the princess. And look what happened when Disney codified them and made them a certain thing. It was carnage. It ruined little girls' lives. Like it changed the whole thing, right? It was crazy. So, well, we should wrap this up for today, but I would love to have you back in November. We'll talk about the gap, historical research, all of that. Audience, thank you all. We're gonna run away now. But thank you all, and we will see you. I'm not even gonna do the bumper.
Thanks.
So we'll just kind of sit here and try to be still as it finishes up. But yeah, good night.